Have you ever sat in that heavy silence at a family dinner? Here on Women's Life Stories, we retell those moments honest, everyday, sometimes controversial. Every story is a mirror. Subscribe, join the conversation, and maybe find a little healing. The sunflowers went into the glass vase with a wet sigh. Water beaded on my fingers. The entryway smelled like lemon oil and old pine. I nudged the vase until the tallest blossom faced the front door. The clock in the hallway ticked loud and steady. My phone buzzed on the console table. Speaker on. Maddie's voice came bright and flat. "We're not spending money on that circus." A pause. Ice in a glass. Caleb's voice slid in. "You're too old for that, Mom." I watched a drop slide down the vase. It landed on the mahogany and spread in a perfect circle. I wiped it with my sleeve and missed the edge. The ring darkened. "Okay," I said. "Great," Maddie said. Paper smiled through the phone. "You understand?" "Sure." "Love you," Caleb added. He did not wait for my answer. The line clicked. The house filled itself back up with the fan's hum and the clock's patient clack. I texted anyway. The words came easy, like I had been saving them for years. "The circus is closed. I am nobody's clown." I set the phone down and walked through the rooms I knew by muscle memory. The front parlor with the carved mantel, the sewing room with jars of buttons and chalked patterns rolled like maps. The kitchen window with a view of the crepe myrtle, its bark peeling like old paint. The house leaned in around me the way long-married bodies do. We had learned each other's weight. A framed photo on the bookcase caught the light. Jack and me on the porch in plastic ponchos. He grinned under a hood the color of a banana. Caleb 6, squinting up at the sky to catch rain on his tongue. The day before the hurricane, Jack had nailed plywood across the windows. He sang low while he worked. A sudden quiet, then a hand to his chest. The neighbor ran. The siren came. The rain did not stop. The sewing calluses never left after that. Tiny pricks clustered like constellations across my fingers. I stitched prom dresses, school uniforms, bridesmaids' hems. I kept the needle steady and the lights on. When Caleb wanted a laptop for 9th grade, I took in 2 extra wedding gowns. When he grew 2 inches in one summer, I learned to let out and take in without cutting fabric. All work, all measured, all in a line. The doorbell chimed and I startled at nothing. Just a neighbor's delivery truck coughing down the block. I rubbed the spot on the table where the water had pooled. A faint shadow remained a ring inside the wood's grain. Years ago, I met Maddie on the same porch. She came in with white blouse crispness and a perfume that smelled like an expensive dressing room. "Please call me Maddie." "Or Mom," she said, laughing softly. "If you want." She squeezed my hand with fingers that had never scrubbed a pot. Caleb looked at her like the sun had moved into our kitchen. We ate baked ziti. She asked for the recipe and set her phone on the counter, not to record, just to look like she might. In the living room, she peered at the shelf and tilted her head. So many porcelain things. "They're cute." She said cute like a sentence with a period. Later, while we rinsed plates, she said, "I always wanted a mom like you." It landed sweet and heavy. I hugged her with suds on my forearms. The house clicked and breathed around us. The clock kept on. Only now, after the call, the air felt thinner. The sunflowers glowed through the glass. The tallest stalk bowed its head from the weight. I read the calendar taped to the fridge, a red circle around my birthday. 7 and a 0 traced over themselves thick with marker. Little stars I had drawn one night after a second cup of tea. I went to the sink and filled the kettle. Water hissed onto metal, then settled. I reached for the old Chemex, the one with a hairline crack at the base that never spread. Coffee grounds bloomed and gave up their steam. Toast browned and popped. My hands moved through the morning like a pattern I knew by heart. 3 breaths in, 3 out. The house smelled like coffee and toasted bread and flowers' green stems. The phone buzzed again on the console. I let it. I put my cup on a small round coaster, then moved the cup back onto the bare wood, then back onto the coaster. The old embroidered tablecloth waited in a drawer that stuck if you pulled too hard. I had planned to iron it next week, to lay it out, to set the good plates with the blue rim, to polish Jack's mother silver with the soft cloth that lives in a butter yellow box. "We're not spending money on that circus." Maddie had said it like we were talking about a trampoline rental and not the only thing I had looked forward to for months. "You're too old for that, Mom." Caleb had said it like everyone knew, and I had forgotten. I took my coffee to the back steps. The crepe myrtle dropped a purple petal that stuck to the damp railing. Down the street, someone's sprinkler ticked. Over the river, a jet drew a white line that sharpened, then thinned. The neighbor's flag lifted and fell. A memory walked out onto the step with me. The first Sunday after the wedding, Maddie pressed a small bag into my hands. Body cream silk scarf, a card with a tiny gold heart. "For you," she said. "You do so much." She looked at the house after that. "It must be a lot. For just one person. It keeps me busy," I said. I smiled so she could see my teeth. She smiled back and smoothed her blouse. The clock chimed in the next room and she turned her head toward the sound like it was music and not time. Months later, she stood in the same spot and said, "Open plan would be amazing here. It would look bigger." She knuckled the wall like she was listening for water. Caleb laughed. He said Maddie has such a good eye. She curled her lips at the old china hutch. "Vintage is in," she said. The words sounded like a compromise. I went inside and wiped the ring on the table again. I pressed hard with the heel of my hand. The wood held the stain like it had decided to keep it. The house was stubborn like that. It learned to keep marks. It learned to keep me. The phone buzzed a third time. I picked up. Text from Maddie. No hearts this time. No exclamation points. "We're taking you to dinner. Saturday. Dress up a little." I stared at the message until the clock counted to 10. Then I breathed in and out. I typed a simple reply. "Sure." I set the phone down and picked up the vase to empty a little water. The sunflowers shifted their weight. A new bead ran down the glass and poised at the lip. It trembled and fell. The wood darkened. Another ring. The clock kept time. The house listened. Outside, a thin wind came off the Ashley and rattled the old windows. I folded the dish towel over the oven handle. I stood still long enough to hear the small things, the fan, the fridge, my breath. I looked back at the text. Saturday. Dress up. 3 words neat and bright on the screen, like an invitation, like a test. I put the phone face down and turned the clock's key until the spring caught. Saturday came on warm air from the river. I pressed my palm to the clock case and felt the faint hum of its heartbeat. Then I put on a sky blue blouse and my small pearl studs and took the bus across the bridge. Their townhouse sat in a neat row lawn, clipped like a crew cut. The porch light was already on. Maddie opened the door with a smile that reached her teeth and stopped. Black dress perfume that floated ahead of her. "You look lovely, Ruth. Come in." 3 places at the table. Napkins folded into lilies. Wine glasses that matched. A candle that smelled like fresh linen. Chicken cutlets under a thin crust. A pan of mushrooms in a sauce that tasted like a can. Caleb poured wine and talked about traffic on the Ravenel. Maddie asked about the weather, about the market, about whether I had tried the new bakery that sold croissants the size of a fist. We ate until the plates were more crumb than food. Caleb set down his fork and turned his glass. His throat moved. He did not look at me. "Mom, we want to talk to you about something." Maddie slid her hand onto his forearm. "About our next step?" I folded my napkin and put it on my plate. "Go ahead." Caleb drew a breath like he was about to go underwater. "We found a place. A condo near the park, 2 bedrooms, good light. We are thinking about kids soon. We got approved, but we need 120. Maddie leaned forward. Light shone on the gloss of her lipstick. "It is a wonderful opportunity. The seller will not hold it forever." 120, I said. I let the number sit on my tongue for a second. That is a lot of money. It is an investment in family. Maddie smiled softly. "Memories belong with people, not walls. And you live alone in that big house. It must be exhausting. A smaller place would be safer and easier." "I am 68, not 80, I said. "I know," she said. "I did not mean it like that." Caleb raised his eyes. They had the same brown as when he was little, only clouded. "It is your house, your decision. We just hoped you would want to see your grandchild in a good home. Maddie might be pregnant." Maddie's fingers brushed her flat abdomen in a movement barely there. A performance for all 3 of us. I looked down at the candle. The wax had pooled into a pale lake. The wick made a tiny hiss. "I need to think," I said. My voice sounded calm. It felt like it belonged to someone else. "Of course," Caleb said quickly. "Take your time." Maddie added a small smile. "The seller has other offers." 3 weeks. I pushed my chair back and stood. "I have to be up early. Thank you for dinner." "We will drive you," Caleb said, already reaching for keys. "I will take the bus," I said. "I need air." On the sidewalk, the night smelled like cut grass and laundry vents. I walked past townhouses that looked like each other. Behind a hedge, a dog barked once and then remembered where it was. My hands found each other inside my purse and gripped. The clock was still ticking when I came home. The house had a temperate breath. I put my shoes by the door and sat on the back step. Somewhere far off, a siren rose and fell, then faded. I held the rail and believed I could feel the wood's old life under its paint. The calls began the next morning, 7:12, 8:02, 7:30 the day after that. "Good morning, Ruth. Did you sleep well? Sugar in a cup." We went by the condo again. The light at 4 is gorgeous. Imagine a baby in that light. "We found a darling rental for you. First floor, no stairs, it would be perfect. The seller is nervous. He has other offers. We do not want to lose this. How are you feeling about everything? We would hate for you to feel pressured." The words wrapped themselves in cotton and hid their teeth. I washed coffee cups. I clipped a hangnail with sewing scissors. I trimmed the stems on the sunflowers and changed their water and watched the vase cloud with tiny bubbles that climbed and popped. One afternoon, I stepped off the bus with a sack of tomatoes and saw Caleb's car nosed right up to my curb. A man in a blue tie stood on my steps. He carried a slim briefcase and looked like a sharpened pencil. Maddie turned when the gate clicked behind me. "Ruth, perfect timing. This is Mr. Klein. He can do a quick look. Just the exterior." Mr. Klein's handshake floated in air between us. "Ma'am, quick appraisal for ballpark range. No commitment." "I did not ask for an appraisal," I said. I shifted the sack of tomatoes in my hand. The paper creaked. "It is just information," Maddie said. "So you know your options." "No," I said. "When I need a real estate agent, I will hire one." Her smile held a second longer than it needed to. Then it slipped. "All right," she said. "We are trying to help." They left. The air felt cooler, as if a shade had been pulled. I put the tomatoes on the counter. A ripe one had split in the bag and bled a bright stain onto the paper. I washed the stain down the sink and watched the swirl gain speed and vanish. Caleb called after dark. The house around me was a soft shape. "Mom." "Maddie said you turned away the appraiser." "I did not invite him," I said. "You are making this harder than it has to be." "For whom?" "For everyone." His voice tightened. "Look, I know it is your house. It has sentimental value, but you have to think about the future. Who will take care of you when you cannot live there alone? And selling my house makes you want to," I said. "That is not fair. It is a question." There was a long breathing sound. Then his voice came smaller and harder. "I never asked you to raise me. You chose all that." The words stepped into me. They found the old soft parts on the first try. I hung up and sat in the rocking chair and let it move. The window held a black square. Somewhere outside, a sprinkler knocked and turned, knocked and turned. In my head, it started to rain. It rained on the porch. It rained on the plywood. Jack was on the ladder with a hammer in his hand and a song under his breath. In the morning, Gloria Ruiz brought coffee and a paper bag of glazed donuts and set them on my table like medicine. She sells flowers at the market with hands that know how to keep green things alive. "Tell me everything," she said. "Start with the call." I told her. The chicken cutlets, the 3 places, the number, the baby, the daily calls, the man with the briefcase, the sentence about never asking to be raised. Her eyebrows went up to the part about the baby and then stopped there. "That girl is trouble," she said. She tore a donut in half and passed me the bigger piece. "And your boy is lost. We will pull him out of the current if we can. If we cannot, we will teach you to swim where he cannot drag you." "I do not want to fight," I said. The donut tasted like vanilla and sugar and old fairgrounds. "You do not have to fight," she said. "You have to stand." "My cousin's nephew is an attorney. Good head, no arrogance. He can take a look, only public records and what is visible, nothing fancy. At least you will know where the floors are." "Call him," I said. She dialed in front of me and gave me the phone. His name was Aaron Patel. His voice came clear and careful. We set a time for Tuesday afternoon. He told me one thing before he hung up. "Do not sign anything. Not a scrap. Not a card. Do not initial a receipt. If they come, you call a neighbor. You call me. You do not open the door to a man with a briefcase." That afternoon, the sky went pale and then darker on the edges. I took my garden clogs from the hook and went out back. The crepe myrtle shed paper bark that curled on itself like cinnamon. Weeds had set their teeth into the bed by the steps. I dug the shovel into the wet soil and pressed my weight onto the blade. The metal rang. Not a root, not a stone, something with edges. I knelt and scraped with my fingers until the dirt loosened. A lunch pail came up, slow, rusted, and scabbed. the kind that rides in a workman's hand. I carried it inside and set it on the table. The latch gave after 2 tries. Paper. Plastic wrap crinkled and dirty. I loosened the tape and slid out a stack. The deed to this house. Our signatures on the last page. The date in a hand I knew. A note under the signatures in Jack's messy block letters. The house is for you, built with our hands. Do not let anyone take it from you. There were letters under that. Folded, tucked yellow where the edges had met air. Jack starting sentences and backing up and starting again. He called me lion. He called me stubborn in a way that meant something bright. He said, keep your chin up when hard weather comes. He used words he had not learned in school and made them walk straight. At the bottom, there was a packet of bills bound with a brittle rubber band. I counted 25,000 and 110 that had stuck to another. The sight of them tilted the room. I sat down. The kettle clicked and startled me, and I laughed at myself in the quiet. I put the money back. I put the letters back. I pressed the lid down until the latch bit. When Aaron came on Tuesday at 3, the light through the front window had turned the dust into gold. He shook my hand and sat on the edge of the sofa like a person who has learned to listen. He asked for names and dates and workplaces and timelines. He wrote them down with a thin pen. He told me again not to sign. Public records will get us part way, he said. I will be discreet. If you get a call, do not argue. Let the silence do some of the work. If they visit, step outside and keep the door behind you. Your house is yours. After he left, I opened the lunch pail again and touched the deed with the back of my fingers. I put it into a zip bag. I put the bag into the bread drawer under the embroidered cloth and closed it. The phone buzzed before dinner. Maddie again. No hearts, no extras. Deadline is Monday. This will crush Caleb if it falls through. Please do the right thing. I read it twice. I set the phone face down and listened to the clock. The hands rasped over their small track. The house breathed the way it always had. The sunflowers had begun to bow their heavy heads. I trimmed the stems and changed the water. A bead formed, gathered, and fell. The wood held the mark. The ring darkened. Aaron came back on Thursday with a thin briefcase and a careful face. Afternoon light fell in bars across the rug. He sat at the table and laid out what he had, like a dealer who knows the deck. Public records, he said. Bonus of $150 to Caleb 3 months ago. 30 more in a brokerage account. Maddie has $75 in revolving card debt, tied to a failed boutique with her mother. There are posts in a fashion forum. They talk about getting a cut if the house sells. 20 to the mother. The pregnancy does not track with her socials. 2 nights ago, she posted a bottle service photo, beer in hand. He turned the paper so they faced me. Names, dates, sums, a screenshot of a thread where handles talked in bright phrases that felt like masks. I looked until the numbers blurred and then sharpened again. The clock in the hall clicked through it all. Do you want copies? He asked. Yes, I said. My voice had a lower center. He slipped each page into a clear sleeve. He wrote their labels on small white tabs. Bonus, revolving, forum. He stacked them square. His hands were steady and neat. Do not confront them with this over the phone, he said. Do not argue. If they come, you call a neighbor and step outside. Keep recording. I will go deeper where I can. After he left, the house felt taller. The air in the entryway had a different weight. I moved the vase of sunflowers to the other side of the table, and a drop tracked a clean line down the glass. It reached the lip held on and let go. Another ring darkened. Near dinner, a new number flashed on my phone. A woman's voice. Ms. Ellison, my name is Dana Brooks. I live on Caleb Street. I got your number from Ms. Sue at the corner store. Can we meet? It is about Saturday night. We met at the Arches Cafe near the park. She wore a navy blazer and short hair tucked behind one ear. The espresso machine hissed and knocked. The place smelled like orange peel and roasted beans. Dana talked with the precision of a person used to minutes and notes. Your daughter-in-law threw a party for you, she said. She called it a surprise. She told people you had decided to sell your house to help them with the down payment. She asked for a round of applause. She slid her phone across the table. I pressed play. The sound came tinny but clear enough. Maddie's voice full and bright in a borrowed microphone. Thank you all for coming to celebrate my mother-in-law on her 70th. Then the part about the house and the down payment. Then clapping. And Caleb warm and easy. Thanks, Mom. Heat climbed into my hands. I set the phone down and pressed both palms flat to the table. The wood was cool and smooth, then warmer under the bones of my hands. A good surface, made to last. "I thought you should know," Dana said. "People believe it happened." "Thank you," I said. "Do you mind sending the full video?" "Of course," she said. Her mouth tilted. "I am sorry." On my walk home, the sky over the river had gone lavender. Bicycles clicked past. A couple laughed on a bench. The world had the nerve to stay ordinary. I called Aaron as soon as I shut my door. The light in the hallway had gone gold and slow. "I am done asking," I said. "I am done absorbing." "What do you want?" he asked. "I want them to stand in the middle of the thing they built," I said, "with lights on." Silence, then a small breath. "All right," he said. "We can do that." We planned the shape. Saturday at 4 at my house. A notary with a seal, an assistant with a camera, witnesses, names on paper, the room arranged to face the truth. Gloria arrived the next morning with a to-do list I did not ask for. She brought a roll of blue painter's tape, a soft cloth for silver, and a pan of baked rice with chicken and peas that made the kitchen smell like comfort. "You handle feelings," she said. "I will handle chairs." We slid the sofa back and turned the rug so its borders squared the space under the fan. We polished the table until my face wavered in the wood. We set 3 chairs on one side and 2 on the other. We placed a glass of water where the notary would sit. The clock kept time, and for once I liked the sound of it counting down. Mr. Alvarez came at noon in a brown suit that fit like an answer. He opened a leather case and took out a heavy seal with a round jaw. He pressed it on scrap paper and lifted it to show me the crimped circle. It looked like a coin pressed into bark. Tessa, his assistant, checked battery levels and cards. She set the camera on a low tripod and framed the shot with a hand. She asked for a quick audio test, and I said my name and the date. The room caught my voice and held it. Dana texted to confirm she had the video file on her phone and on a small drive. Bill, Gloria's husband, said he would come an hour early and help park cars so the driveway stayed clear. He has a voice that fills a doorway and a calm that settles a room. I told him he could stand near the door, and he nodded once. Before I made the call, I opened the lunch pail. The metal had warmed to the room. I touched the deed the way you test a loaf you baked. I slid Jack's note from its place and read the lines that I could recite without looking. "You are a lion. Do not let anyone make you small." The edges had gone soft from my thumb. I put everything back and clicked the latch. The click sounded like a promise fulfilled. I put my phone on speaker and hit record. Caleb picked up on the second ring. His hello sounded cautious and bright at the same time. "I have thought about it," I said. I kept my voice steady. "You are right about one thing. The house is big. You and Maddie should come Saturday at 4. We will do this with a notary and witnesses. We will do it properly." The line went quiet long enough for me to hear the clock in the next room. Then a breath and a rush. "Mom, thank you. Thank you. I knew you would understand. I love you." Saturday at 4, I said, "Do not be late." After the call, I sat in the kitchen and let the quiet climb back up the walls. The smell of Gloria's rice had settled into the corners. On the table, the sunflowers had begun to lean. I trimmed the stems and let them drink. The water in the vase cleared with little ropes of bubbles. I lifted the vase, wiped the ring underneath, and set it down on a dry place. Saturday showed up in clean light. The first thing I did was wind the clock. 3 turns. The spring caught and held. The house had a ready feeling, a kind of held breath. I opened the windows for an hour and let the river air move through. It smelled like salt and creosote and cut grass. People came early. Gloria with lipstick a shade too bright on purpose, Bill with a plate of cookies from the bakery, Dana with a manila envelope and a face set for work. Mr. Alvarez set out his ledger and tested his seal again. Tessa checked white balance and framed her shot and set a second small camera near the bookcase to hold a wide view. The cords lay in tidy lines along the baseboard. I went to my room and looked at myself in the mirror over the dresser, the burgundy blouse, the small pearl studs, the hair pulled back so my face showed and did not hide. My hands were steady. I picked up the little jar of polish and took out the soft cloth and ran it once over the knife handles in the silver drawer. I put them back. In the living room, the chairs waited. The table held a pad of paper and 2 pens. Gloria straightened one of the chairs the way a stage manager checks a mark. Bill stood near the door with his hands loose at his sides. He gave me a small nod. The clock read 3:59. The house was as quiet as it could be while full of people. The afternoon had turned to a gentler gold. The bell rang. Caleb stood on the porch in a pressed shirt and a nervous smile. Maddie beside him, silk bag on her wrist, the smell of perfume meeting the air before her voice. "Hi," she said. "We are so grateful." Bill opened the door wide. "Come on in." They stepped into the living room and stopped. The camera on its small tripod. Mr. Alvarez at the table with his seal. Gloria by the window. Dana with a manila envelope. Aaron at the far chair with a pen already uncapped. Maddie's smile went thin. "What is all this?" "Formality," I said. "You asked for proper. This is proper." Caleb looked from the camera to the seal to me. He swallowed. "Sure. Good. Let us sit." We did. 3 chairs on one side for them, 2 on the other for me and Aaron. Mr. Alvarez opened his ledger and wrote the date with careful strokes. Before signatures, I said, "We need to correct the record." Maddie smoothed the hem of her dress. "Of course." Dana set her phone on the table and tapped the screen. The cafe sound did not come with it, only Maddie's bright voice through a borrowed microphone. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate my mother-in-law." Then the part about me selling my house to fund their down payment. Then clapping. Caleb's voice followed. "Thanks, Mom." No one spoke. The clock ticked. Outside, a car rolled past and the sound faded. Maddie licked her lip. "It was a misunderstanding. We assumed. We wanted to honor you. It got away from us." "You lied," I said. She opened her mouth and closed it. Caleb's face had lost its color. His eyes went to me and then away. Aaron slid a clear sleeve across the table. Inside it, a printout with a company logo and a number near the bottom that did not look like a human number. "Caleb," Aaron said. "Public records show a bonus 3 months ago, 150. There is also 30 in a brokerage. You have options." Caleb stared at the page. He did not touch it. "I was going to use that for closing costs," he said. The words sounded small, like coins in a pocket. Aaron laid a second sleeve in front of Maddie. "Statements, balances, a curve that sloped the wrong way. These are yours. 75 on revolving, linked to a retail venture with your mother. There are forum posts where a cut is discussed. 20 to her if the house sells." Maddie's eyes flashed. "This is an invasion." "These are public," Aaron said. His voice was even. "Your social media shows a club 2 nights ago, a drink in your hand. That does not fit the story about a pregnancy." Maddie pushed back from the table. The chair legs scraped the rug. "I do not have to sit here and be insulted." Bill reached the doorway without hurrying. He did not touch her. He did not need to. "We are not finished," he said. Mr. Alvarez laced his fingers and waited. Tessa's camera light glowed red. The room held its shape. I took my phone and set it on the table. I pressed play. Caleb's voice filled the space. "I never asked you to raise me. You chose all that." Caleb blinked hard. He hunched forward and covered his face with one hand. His breath hitched. When he spoke, it came out raw. "I am sorry," he said. "I said something ugly. I was angry." Mr. Alvarez cleared his throat. "Mrs. Ellison," he said to me, "if you wish to proceed in a legal sense, I can notarize your statement and your counsel can file. Attempted financial exploitation of an elder defamation, other claims as appropriate." Maddie made a sound in her throat. Not grief, something closer to rage. "She is his mother," she said. "We asked for help. A family helps." "A family does not declare a gift that was never given," Aaron said. The clock ticked once, then again. I folded my hands and set them on the table where everyone could see them. "I'm not filing today," I said. "I am setting terms." Caleb lifted his head. The skin under his eyes had gone gray. He nodded without speaking. "1," I said. "No contact for 1 full year. No calls. No visits. No messages that ask others to carry words back and forth. Complete quiet." Maddie shook her head. "That is cruel." "It is a boundary," I said. 2, Aaron said, as if reading minutes. "Public apologies on your accounts. Admit the false announcement. Admit the pressure. Name it. Leave them visible." Maddie looked at Caleb. "She deserves that," he said. His voice did not waver. "We did wrong." 3, I said. "Caleb will attend individual therapy, regularly, not one time to check a box. He will work with a licensed therapist. He will keep proof by appointment record." Caleb nodded. "Yes." And 4, Aaron said. "Any breach of these terms or any further attempt to secure funds or signatures will trigger immediate legal action. We will file what we have. And we have a great deal." Mr. Alvarez turned a blank page on his ledger. "I can draft acknowledgement of terms and notarize signatures. This will not be a court order. It will be a record of what was agreed in this room." Fine, Maddie said, her jaw tightened. Let us sign? Mr. Alvarez wrote the title. Acknowledgement of terms. He read each line aloud. Tessa's camera caught the words and the cadence of them. I watched the ink sink into the fibers of the paper. He slid the pages one by one to the edge of the table. Maddie signed first. Her pen made a fast shape hard at the end. Caleb took the pen and held it longer. He signed. His hand shook. Mr. Alvarez signed and wrote his commission number under his name. He lifted the seal, set the paper between its jaws, and pressed. The mark came out clean and raised. He sealed each page in turn. The sound was soft and heavy. Press, lift, press, lift. When it was done, the room did not move for a beat. The camera light still glowed. The clock kept time like it had no stake in any of this. Caleb turned to me. He reached, then stopped. Mom, he said, please. I moved my hands to my lap. You have a year, I said. He swallowed. I will use it. Maddie stood and smoothed her dress again. She looked at the seal, at the camera, at Aaron, at me. Her face held a smile that never reached her eyes. Enjoy your house, she said. Bill opened the door. She walked out, first heels ticking on the porch boards. Caleb lingered. He looked at the clock as if he could read something there. He looked at the framed photo on the mantel. He looked at me and did not try to touch me a second time. Then he stepped through the door and out into the bright afternoon. The latch caught with its old sound. The room let out a breath. Gloria came to me and put a hand on my shoulder and left it there. Dana slid her phone back into her blazer. Aaron capped his pen. Mr. Alvarez stacked the stamped pages and set a pink page marker so my copy would be easy to find. Tessa clicked the camera off and the red light died. I gathered the two pens and set them parallel. The table's polished surface showed the outline of the vase's old circles like faint moons. The metal lunch pail sat on the sideboard where I had left it. I did not open it. The deed could rest. Do you want tea? Gloria asked. Not yet, I said. We stood a moment longer in the quiet. The air carried the last trace of Maddie's scent out the door. From somewhere to the west, a low rumble rolled across the sky. Not close. Far enough to sound like a memory. The seal impressions cooled on the paper. The clock ticked. The house held its breath and then released it. Outside, one fat drop hit the porch rail and left a dark spot in the wood. Another followed, then another. Rain tapped the porch rail until the wood went dark. The room thinned and steadied. People put on coats, closed cases, gathered cords. Mr. Alvarez slid the stamped pages into a stiff envelope and handed me my copy. The seal circles felt cool through the paper. That night, the phone stayed quiet. It stayed quiet the next morning and the one after that. The house filled with the small sounds that had always lived here. The clock kept its patient count. The fridge hummed and clicked. The crepe myrtle dropped little curls of bark that skittered on the steps. On Monday afternoon, Gloria came by with a carton of soup. We sat at the table and ate with spoons that clicked against ceramic. She did not ask how I felt. She peeled the label from the soup carton in a long ribbon and laid it beside her bowl. We listened to the rain start and stop. The apologies went up the following day. Gloria showed me Caleb's post on her phone, a long paragraph under a photo of him in a plain gray sweater. He wrote that I had not agreed to sell. He wrote that he and his wife had pressured me. He used my name in full and called me a woman of dignity. In the comments, strangers said they were proud of him. Others called him names. I handed the phone back and asked Gloria to set it face down. Maddie's apology found its way to me through Dana. 2 lines that sounded like they had been washed in cold water. Confusion. Misunderstanding. She turned off comments an hour later. A week passed. The house learned its quiet again. One afternoon, a plain envelope arrived with my name written in Caleb's hand. The letter inside was steady and unadorned. He had started therapy. He was ending his marriage. He had lost track of himself and wanted to find what he had dropped. He did not ask me to forgive him. He wrote that he would try to be a son who could look his father's photo in the eye. I read it twice at the kitchen table and then again in the chair by the front window where the light is kind. I lined it up with the edge of the metal lunch pail's lid and slid it inside next to Jack's notes. The latch clicked shut in a way that sounded right to me. Winter settled without ceremony. I used some of Jack's money to fix the bathroom. For a week, the house smelled like grout and wet plaster. A young man from the next street named of Ty cut tile in the yard and came in with dust on his shoes. The new fixtures felt solid under the hand. Water ran the way it should and disappeared where it should. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I walked to the community center for knitting. The room always smelled like wool and lemon cleaner. Martha, from the corner of Aiken and Line, sat next to me. She had strong hands and a laugh that shook her shoulders. We made scarves that unrolled like small rivers. We talked about plants and about shoes that never fit quite right. Sometimes we did not talk at all and let the room be full of needles ticking. December brought a thin sun and early dark. I set a small tree on a crate by the window and hung 3 glass ornaments that caught the light. One afternoon, I found a box on the porch with no return address. Inside was a photo album. The early pages were full of Caleb at every ridiculous stage. Toothless grin, cowlick, gap-toothed smile with a cardboard sword in hand. At the back, a new photo. Caleb on a waiting room couch, face, tired eyes clear. A note taped beside it in his steady printing. I am remembering every day. Merry Christmas. I closed the album and held it so the cover pressed the line of my ribs. The room smelled like pine and coffee and old floorboards. The clock chimed and the sound ran up the stairwell. The year turned. The air off the river came clear and cold. On the 15th of January, I made coffee and smoothed the embroidered tablecloth with the flat of my hand. The bell rang at exactly 10. When I opened the door, Caleb stood there with his hands empty. He was thinner, his shoes were clean. The cold had stung his cheeks pink. "Hi, Mom," he said. "The year is up." His voice did not trust itself. "Can I come in?" I stepped back. He looked at the parlor as if it were a museum of his own life. His eyes found the mantel. He saw the plastic poncho photo and moved closer to it. His mouth softened the way it used to when he did not know what to say. We sat. He took the chair nearest the window. I sat in the rocking chair. The clock sounded a little too loud for a minute and then folded itself into the room. "I have been in therapy," he said. 2 times a week. I signed the paper so Robert could confirm that with you. I did not expect you to read them. I wanted you to know I am not just saying it." I nodded. He told me you went. "I am divorced," he said. He let the words sit. "It is final." I did not come to talk about her. I came to talk about what I did here. His hand opened and closed once on his knee. "I made you into a resource. It was easy to do. I did it because it was easy. I said things that are not true. I knew they were not true even when they left my mouth." The room held the words. He kept going. "When you played my voice back in this room, I heard how I sounded. I have heard it every night since. I am sorry." He did not look at me while he said it. He looked at the groove worn in the floor where people step around the corner of the rug. I watched his face the way a mother watches a sleeping child. Not to check for danger, to check for breath. "I'm not going to tell you it will never happen again," he said. "I will just do the work that makes it less likely. That is all I have." I breathed once and felt it go all the way to the bottom of my rib cage. "We are not going back," I said. "We can make something that does not use the old brakes. It has to be slow. It has to be clean." He nodded. "Tell me how to be here." "You keep going to therapy," I said. "You do not argue with that. You come for lunch on Saturdays. You call me on Tuesdays and Thursdays, not every day. If I say no to anything, the conversation ends there." He nodded after each piece as if they were fence posts setting themselves into the ground. "Okay," he said, "I can do that." We were quiet. The clock found its way back into the background. The room let us sit. "Are you hungry?" I asked. He smiled in a way I had not seen in years. The boy showed through the man, always. We stood in the kitchen and moved around each other without touching. I grated cheese while he chopped a tomato. He did it clumsy, too much pressure on the knife, a pile of crushed fruit that bled on the cutting board. He laughed under his breath. "You were 7 when I taught you that," I said. "You wanted to use the big knife. You nicked your finger and cried like it would never stop." "I remember the Band-Aid," he said. "It had little rockets on it." "Ms. Sue gave it to you," I said. "She kept them by the register." The pan warmed and the tortillas softened and browned in spots. Cheese went gooey and strings stretched and broke when we cut. The kitchen smelled like cooked corn and onion and heat. We ate at the table and did not rush. He asked me a question that had been waiting. "Why did you not press charges? You could have." "Prison would have made you someone it happened to," I said. "I wanted you to feel what you chose. The quiet gave you room to hear yourself." He nodded and did not argue. He folded the napkin small and unfolded it and set it flat again. He stayed until the light shifted and slid down the wall. We talked about his job and about how empty the townhouse felt when the furniture went to storage. He told me he made dinner from a recipe card he found in a box that said kitchen, and that the smoke alarm went off, but he did not mind. At the door he hesitated. "Thank you," he said, "for letting me sit in the room." "Do not waste it," I said. He walked down the path and looked back at the porch and at the upstairs window where the clock lives. He lifted a hand and then put it back in his pocket. He came on Saturdays. He called on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Sometimes he brought coffee and we took it on the back steps. In March, he knocked, and when I opened the door, he held a young yellow rose in a black nursery pot. He shifted his weight like a schoolboy about to recite. "For the bed by the steps," he said. "The old bush died last year. We planted it where the dirt is best." The soil smelled rich and cool. He tipped the pot and coaxed the roots with his fingers. I steadied the stem while he tucked earth around it with the flat of his hand. When we were finished, we stood and looked at it. The plant shivered in a breeze and then settled. He leaned the stake at a slant and tied soft cloth in a loose loop so the stem could move and not break. We washed our hands at the hose and watched the water run brown and then clear. In April, I set the embroidered cloth on the table and put plates with blue rims on top. Gloria and Bill came, Aaron came with a carton from the bakery, Dana brought a salad in a cold bowl and added salt at the table with a flourish. Ms. Sue arrived last with a jar of sweet tea that caught the light like amber. We ate and talked and stayed seated when the plates were empty. Caleb handed me a small wrapped package. Inside was a simple wooden frame and a photo he must have printed that morning. He and I knelt beside the rose bush. Dirt under my nails. Sun on his cheekbone. The stem tipped with tight buds. On the back he had written in small letters, "For new memories." I put the frame on the mantel next to the photo of Jack in his yellow poncho. The two lives sat beside each other and did not argue. When the house quieted, I carried the metal lunch pail from the sideboard to the table. I opened it and read 2 lines of Jack's note and put it back. "You are a lion. Do not let anyone make you small." The latch closed with a small clean sound. Night air came through the kitchen screen and laid a cool hand on my arm. The clock kept time. I went to the back steps and looked at the rose bush. A bud had loosened since morning. Yellow showed between the green tips. The color caught what was left of the light. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A photo from Caleb. A square of a calendar screen with a Thursday rectangle lit up. Therapy 2 p.m. Under it, he wrote 3 words. "See you Saturday." I slipped the phone back into my pocket and stood a moment longer. The bud shifted. The river sent a low smell of salt. Inside, the clock moved one small space and then another. The house knew the weight of us again. Thank you so much for listening to today's story. If this story resonated with you or made you reflect, I'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to share them in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next story. I'll see you next time as we continue exploring more journeys and lessons together.